Hey guys, so before the Oscars becomes really old news, I wanted to release one more video about it just to give a brief recap about the ceremony, my reactions to some of the things that happened during the Oscars. I won't be able to talk about everything, but I will try to address as much as I can under 10 minutes. In terms of how my predictions fared, I got 14 out of 24, which is not a good record for me, but some of these were really tough to predict. I know everyone's talking about the Best Picture mix-up that happened at the end, but I will save that for last. So first, really quickly, I want to talk about the ceremony as a whole and Jimmy Kimmel as a host. Now, I don't know if it was because I spent the entire Oscar show holding up my phone in front of my face to Facebook Live it to my profile, but I personally liked last year's ceremony better. I thought it was better directed. I thought it flowed better, definitely, because this one was super long. It was just under 4 hours long. And Jimmy Kimmel as a host, he was okay. It wasn't really anything special, which is how I feel about most of the Oscar hosts. I feel like the Oscars always play it safe when it comes to their hosting. And the segments that Jimmy Kimmel had weren't really that entertaining in my opinion, except for that one where it had Charlize Theron talking about Shirley MacLaine and Javier Bardem talking about Meryl Streep, Seth Rogen talking about Michael J. Fox. Like, those ones were really, really good, and they led up to a great Matt Damon joke that really paid off. Now, with regard to surprises at the Oscars, apart from the very last one, most of the categories that I got wrong at the Oscars, I was fine with the eventual winners and I kind of saw them coming, but I just found it weird how Hacksaw Ridge won for sound mixing instead of sound editing, because it just seems more like a sound editing kind of film for the Oscars. But then I'm in total denial about the fact that Hacksaw Ridge won Best Film Editing over those other nominees, and that Suicide Squad won makeup and hairstyling. And, you know, to be fair, Suicide Squad does have good makeup in the film. It's just that, you know, Star Trek, man, come on. Have you seen the makeup in Star Trek? Next thing I want to touch on is Lin-Manuel Miranda and Auli'i Carvalho performing How Far I'll Go at the Oscars. They definitely had the best musical number, even better than the John Legend, City of Stars medley of sorts. It's so clear that the Oscars were trying to take advantage of the fact that they were gonna have Lin at the ceremony, so they just made him rap like something he probably prepared like 2 minutes before the show. It wasn't even that great, no offense to Lin, it's just that, you know, it just was unnecessary because Auli'i Carvalho's performance really blew me away. Like, she is so talented and she's so confident. She's gorgeous for a 16-year-old. Her voice never let up the entire performance, even when she got hit in the head by a flag. And she just seems so natural on stage, you know, like she seemed more confident than Idina Menzel was when Idina performed Let It Go. Now, I just remembered one other segment that took place in the show, which, my mistake, this was the best segment. It's the one where they had these people from all over the world talking about cinema. And it was the best for me because it featured normal, everyday people. It didn't feature any movie stars. And they were really eloquent, surprisingly, about why they loved movies. And their tastes in different films was really impressive. You know, they had really great picks, lots of classic picks. And I feel like this segment should be a staple at the Oscars because, you know, any excuse to show a scene from Cinema Paradiso is really worth it in the long run. Now, for the Best Foreign Language Film category, they gave it to The Salesman instead of Tony Erdmann, which I should have seen coming because the Academy did eventually go with the political vote. You know, voting for The Salesman really did send a message that they were in support of Asghar Farhadi's boycott of the ceremony, because he boycotted the ceremony as a statement for Trump's travel ban. And, you know, people keep complaining about how they want to separate art and politics from each other, but I think that's such a myopic, narrow-minded point of view, because film and art has been political since the beginning. I think it is extremely important to talk about politics at these sorts of award shows and whenever you talk about art in general. And what's great is that, you know, this Salesman victory really kind of capped off this great whole political thing that had to do with the foreign language nominees, especially when they released a joint statement in support of Esker Farhadi, which I thought was beautiful. It is a great show of unity amongst different nations, which is needed now. And then we get to the In Memoriam segment at the Oscars, and I don't know if I've ever been more affected by an In Memoriam segment than with this one. Of course, we lost so many great talents last year, and this one really kind of moved me almost to tears. You know, Gene Wilder, seeing his line was great. Emmanuel Riva, I didn't know she had passed away, but that was really painful for me to see because, you know, she was in Amor, which was nominated for Best Picture in 2013. She was fantastic in that. I didn't know she passed away. Seeing Anton Yelchin one last time was really painful. Kenny Baker, R2-D2, of course Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, and then of course, you know, we lost Bill Paxton like a day before the Oscars, which was also really, really painful. Now let's talk very briefly about the Casey Affleck win. Now, I apologize if I ever seemed dismissive of Casey Affleck's sexual harassment allegations in my previous videos. I didn't mean to come off like that because, you know, I am inclined to believe the sexual assault allegations against him because I just don't believe that anyone would put their careers on the line against someone of Casey Affleck's fame. So I am inclined to believe that, and the way he's handled those allegations, like in the press, he really hasn't handled them well. So I wish he could address those allegations better. I wish, you know, this could have a happy ending somewhere where he acknowledged it and can properly apologize and stuff. But I understand why people don't like him, and I completely accept that. However, I really do not want people to let their hatred of Casey Affleck get in the way of enjoying his movies, because Manchester by the Sea in particular is so much more than Casey Affleck's performance. It is an incredible film, and it's really sad for me to see people say they don't like Manchester just because they don't like Casey Affleck. Those are completely different things. Please, 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 like, at least stay open-minded when it comes to the art, but hate Casey Affleck all you want. And now, of course, let's talk briefly about the big Best Picture mix-up. When it happened, I didn't really know how to react at first because I really thought it was a joke. I thought it was a stunt. But of course it's been explained thoroughly by the media, and I do think it was, you know, an honest mistake, although a terrible mistake, and someone's gonna get fired for it. But, you know, more than the controversy, I want people to focus on the fact that Moonlight just won Best Picture. This is coming from an organization that is predominantly white and predominantly old, and they voted for this low-budget independent film about a gay black American. And that's, you know, that's really progressive for them, and that's a watershed moment because Moonlight, for me, was the best film of 2016. It's great that they recognized it. With that said, let's talk about the Oscars going forward, what to expect from the Academy. And right now, the Academy strikes me as they're growing more self-aware of how people stereotype them. They're growing more self-aware about how people think they're predictable and biased. So they are kind of, you know, changing their choices quite a bit for the better, in my opinion. And I do hope the diversity that they showed this year continues in the future. And while a lot of people like hating on the Academy, saying that they only recognize like boring films and whatnot, I do think the Academy recognizes really good films for the most part. You know, I don't agree with all the winners, but in terms of nominees, I do agree with most of their nominees. And the one thing that I really took away from this year's awards season, the most important thing to me, was the camaraderie and respect that Barry Jenkins and Damien Chazelle have shown each other. That really inspired me, you know, with all this hate going towards La La Land's direction. These two directors have made it very clear that they both love each other's work, they both respect each other, and I just wish we would all be like them and just, you know, take pride in the fact that we have so many great movies coming out and we get to enjoy them. Like, stop thinking of it as a competition. Just the fact that we have these two incredible movies really is a win for all of us. Alright, so those are my brief thoughts on the 89th Academy Awards. What did you guys think of the ceremony? Did you have any thoughts on any of these issues and choices? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.